Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. I am Tim Kernan alongside Mike Freshwater. Mike, good morning to you. How are we doing this morning?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great.
Looking forward to another great weekend of sports.
Yeah, we were just talking about it. Week 11 or our 11th podcast, which is amazing. Time flies.
Yeah, it is. Time does fly. It is. It's incredible that we've already done 11 of these and getting more and more people to watch and more and more people to sign in every week. So it's we really appreciate that. Certainly, all of you that are tuning in. And Mike, we got a lot to go over today, so I thought we would just dive right in. What I kind of wanted to open the show up with today concerns the scandal going on at Michigan involving a staffer there, Connor Stallions. He, I guess, is a recruiter. He's a staffer there and is being accused. It's alleged that Michigan has been stealing signs, participating and going to other teams' games, having individuals actually go to the games and try to steal signs. And again, it's all alleged at the moment. I am a proponent of the judicial system. I think people have the right to defend themselves. So, but more and more information seems to come out every day about this, and it does not look good for Michigan. And I think one thing that was kind of interesting to me is that the NCAA immediately sent people out to Michigan, and I think that is indicative of how serious that they're taking.
I mean,
this
they
situation.
usually, their investigations take a long time, and even if they started today, it would be way after the season before they could announce any of their findings and talk about any kind of potential repercussions as far as suspensions or games forfeited and that kind of thing. But it's taken on a little bit of a life of its own. Every day it feels like there's a new development.
Yeah.
My position is, first of all, I was shocked to hear or surprised to hear that you can't scout in person. I mean, in high school, football, basketball, we scout like crazy in person, right?
It's kind of surprising.
And I know why. It's a financial thing. They feel like it levels the playing field because a lot of the schools, mid-majors, I guess, and below can't afford to send people all over the country to go watch games and do that kind of thing.
Good point.
So if that's all it was, if it was people going to games, scouting games, taking notes, filing a report, I don't think much would come of it. But it sounds like it's more than that, and it sounds like people were there recording games. And that's a whole nother story. So if you got someone there who's focused on the sidelines and they're copying down or getting video images of signals for every play and then sending that back to Michigan and giving them the chance to break that down and match it up with the play call and analyze what happened, that's breaking the rules. That's not legal. And if that's what it is, and it sounds like that might be what it is, I don't know how much further it goes than that, that's a problem. Now, what do they do about it? I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard of this before since this rule's been in place for probably 30 years, I think I've heard, or something like that. But it's really taken a life of its own. Every day it seems like there's a new development coming out.
Exactly.
If you believe it, a lot of stuff on social media can be made up or falsified. But, I mean, the latest is rumor is that they hacked into Ohio State's servers, in their coach's office to steal game video. That's
Watergate
I don't
stuff.
know if that's I can't believe that actually happened. But this guy came from the Navy.
Yeah.
He's got some kind of an intelligence background, a code breaker of some sort. $55,000 a year staffer, who this was his only job, and then he's on the sidelines during games, standing with the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, Harbaugh, and helping them, read those signals and, sign into the defense what they think is coming. And you can see some of that on video. So I don't know. It's a crazy thing. Couldn't happen to a better program as far as I'm concerned.
I'm sure you're brokenhearted about
I
it.
honestly don't think Harbaugh will stay after this. He's got to feel like a little bit like the NCAA or somebody's really out to get him.
Well,
because this isn't the first time, right? I mean,
No,
the one earlier this season, and then there was
Hamburger Gate.
there was another issue 3 or 4 years ago where he was holding these illegal camps and got busted for that.
Yeah.
Right. So he's kind of known for stretching the rules or maybe going a little bit too far and getting caught. So he may be tired of it. He might head off to the NFL after this is all said and done, especially if they win the national championship.
Well, you know, he denies any knowledge of the operation, but I don't think that is going to stick anyways, because that didn't work for Fitzgerald at Northwestern.
You cannot, and given Harbaugh's previous issue where he wasn't cooperating with the NCAA during that cheeseburger investigation, he's outright lying to everybody. Immediately after this broke, he put a tweet out and said he had no knowledge of it. And how is that possible?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I need to see evidence of that before anything else. But if he knows he's leaving after the end of the season, he might be willing to say or do anything, you know, to get through it and right off into the sunset.
Yeah, everybody keeps mentioning that, and I certainly suppose that it is possible. But right now, what NFL team wants that circus? But I guess he is a good coach. I mean, I'm not going to deny that, but everybody just assumes that he's automatically going to go to the NFL.
There'll be openings at the end of the NFL season, and he will absolutely be a person of interest for all those programs. Right. And he had some success at San Francisco when he was in the NFL earlier. And you know, you don't have to deal with all these rules and regulations for the most part when you're in the NFL. And you don't have recruiting. I mean, it seems like a much easier job, quote unquote, for head coaches. But it's all going to play out right before our eyes. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And in a way, I kind of feel bad about it because it is the Big Ten, and it does make the league look a little strange, especially given that, you know, instead of waiting for the NCAA to come down on this, the Big Ten can do that. They can actually come out with a finding of their own and announce their own punishment.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So,
and they are actually there. They are there as well.
Having said that, the Michigan would have 90 days to appeal that. So it's a timing situation. It's not going to happen anytime soon, and it'll be, you know, March, April, May before we hear actually what comes of all this stuff. And
that they can appeal the NCAA decision, but they cannot appeal.
Is that what it is?
What the Big Ten?
Okay, that's what it is. Yeah, that's right.
Findings are.
That's correct.
Very interesting situation, certainly. And we will keep an eye on that one and see what happens with all of that. But boy, I tell you what, if they are cheating, Mike, I don't know how you could put them in the playoffs. But
boy, that's a whole other question, right? So if they get to the point where they're voting everybody's in the room, you know, deciding the Final Four. And let's just say for the sake of argument, there's a public forum on all this Michigan stuff, and there's pretty good evidence that they did something. What do they do? I mean, how much did they cheat this year? You know, yeah. I think they clearly cheated the last 2 years before that. But it's great, I think, to have that drama and for that to be something that we can all talk about.
Well, yeah,
right.
All right, Mike, we'll get back to that and certainly keep an eye on it and update the folks as we move forward. An update on what you and I do. You and I call sports for a local high school here in town, Alter High School. We had a game last night, first week of the playoffs. The Knights took on the Roger Bacon Spartans, who used to be a member of the Greater Catholic League, which is the league or conference that Alter participates in. It was over from the beginning, Mike. Alter took control of that one early, and I thought they did a very good job of establishing their running game, and Alter just took over and never looked back in that one.
They absolutely did. I made a comment last night that it looked like a varsity playing a JV, but having said that, Bacon was missing a 1,400-yard, 18-touchdown quarterback. And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Alter now plays Indian Hill next week, who lost to Bacon in the first game of the season, 33-20. Of course, you don't know the backstory, you know, who was missing, who wasn't, you know, that kind of thing. But it was they were missing that quarterback. They did nothing on offense, couldn't stop Alter on defense, and I think it's clear now, if it wasn't already before, why they left the league. They can't keep up with the Alders and the Badens and the CJs, and so it was total domination, and nothing wasn't in doubt right from the beginning.
Yeah, they couldn't do anything, and you have to give credit to the Alter defense. I would say the Alter defense, probably the last half of the season, has really improved a lot, and they're just not letting any teams move the football. Now, if you go back a couple of games when they took on Baden, who won the GCL conference crown this year, certainly a good team, a division above Alter. Baden did move the ball a little bit on Alter, but that was to be expected, certainly. But Mike, I think that defense is just really playing well.
Playing well. They're injury free. They got everybody available to them, and and that's, if you're going to have one side of the ball be really good when it comes down to big games, playoffs, etc., you're going to want the defense to be really good versus the other way around. It's something that you can, for the most part, you can bank on, you can count on. It's kind of like shooting in basketball or offense in basketball. You never know what you're going to get, but if you're really solid defensively, week in, week out, you can win games by being really good defensively, but just average on offense. And I'm not saying Alter's offense is average by any stretch of the imagination. They're looking good too.
Yeah.
But that defense, I think the defense is good enough to carry them pretty far just by themselves.
I agree. As Mike mentioned, they will take on Indian Hill next Friday night. We'll call that game. And, it's kind of an unwritten law, Mike. You never look past the next game, but it's hard for us not to. But if the Knights defeat Indian Hill, there's a real good chance that they would take on number 1 Clinton Massey, and that would certainly be an exciting contest.
Yeah, that's going to be hard. I think that's going to be the challenge.
History in that one.
There is. Massey's coming off a state championship last year, 2 years ago, 2021, I think maybe. Or was it last year?
It was last year. They struggled last year.
They've won a state championship one of the last 2 years. I think it's 2021. But anyway, that's going to be a challenge for the coaches of this week and players, really, and that is to not get ahead of that.
Yeah.
To focus on the next game and make sure that you're spending all your energy trying to prepare to win that game, and then you can look forward. So I think Alder's the better team than Indian Hill, just if you just look at comparing scores and common opponents and doing that kind of thing. But if you go out there and you play terrible and you turn the ball over 2 or 3 times, you can lose.
Yeah.
So just stay focused and get prepared and play that game like it's your last, because it could be.
Yeah, and that will be another home game for the Knights.
Yes, the Knights will host. Ultra will host that game. Most likely make it Roush Stadium.
Okay,
I don't see why it wouldn't be. Fairmont
yet.
lost last night. There wasn't any chance of them hosting a game anyways, and so what else is going to be going on over there? It's a large assumption. We won't know until they announce it, but that's the sentiment last night walking out.
Well, fingers crossed on that one. That would be nice.
It'd be fantastic.
It sure would. So we will update the folks going forward on that one, but the Knights advance. They go to the second round of the playoffs, and that keeps you and I busy, Mike. We'll have that next game next Friday night.
Yep. Well, you will.
Well, that's right. You're going to be out of town, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
I'll be listening.
Hopefully we'll win that one, and you'll be back.
That's what I'm hoping
back
for.
and better than ever against Clinton Massey.
Yes.
And Mike, we're going to later on in the broadcast bring on Jeff Gilbert, the local guru of high school sports here in town. And Jeff hopefully will give us an update on what he covered, and he'll also give us an update on Ohio State. And I also want to get his reaction on the things going on with Michigan as well.
Yeah, he should have some insight. As you said, he covers Ohio State regularly. He's at the game now as we speak, and he may have a little bit of more news on that than what we've heard.
So, Mike, let's get into Notre Dame and Ohio State a little bit here. Notre Dame, they're coming off a bye week. They defeated USC a couple of weeks ago. That was a big victory for them. They had a much-needed bye week. They played 8 straight weeks, I believe it was, or 7. Can't remember. I think it was 7 actually. They're 5-2, I believe, or maybe 6-2. Maybe it is 8. But they take on Pitt at home tonight or today. I believe that starts at 2:30, and that's another big game. Pitt is as far as record, they don't have a very impressive record, but it's still another big game. And Pitt just defeated Louisville, who beat Notre Dame. And I know those things don't always cross over, but certainly it should get Notre Dame's attention. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it should. And it's going to be interesting to see how they react to having that week off. It helps them or hurts them, but I think they'll be fine. And I think that was, that win might just catapult them into the rest of the season and give them a nice, shot of momentum as they head down the stretch and allow them to win out.
What kind of mid-season grade would you give Notre Dame, Mike?
Well, I mean, based on so the hard part is, looking at them and trying to do without basing your opinion on expectations. But if you look at what the expectations were, and you were really high on them, I'd probably give them like a B minus. This USC game really kind of salvaged the season for them. Had they lost that game,
oh yeah, they'd be reeling.
It'd be a D.
Yeah.
So, but B minus. I mean, I think they came back and showed some grit and knocking USC off the way they did, and so far I'd go B minus. How about you?
I think B minus is exactly where I was headed with that. I think there certainly have been some highs, but there's been a couple lows too. The low was Louisville, and I don't want to take anything away from Louisville. They played great that night, and they smashed. They punched Notre Dame right in the face that night. They deserve credit for it, but I think I take Notre Dame's grade down to a B minus because they didn't show up that night. They were flat. They weren't ready to go. And you can bring up all the excuses you want. It was, their 5th straight game, 3rd straight night game, whatever you want to say. But, that doesn't mean too much in the end. That adds up to dry, what. So.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And, live to play another day and finish off really strong and then head into next season with maybe higher expectations.
Yeah, and honestly, I think right now, if Notre Dame wins out, this is my opinion, I still think they have a chance at a New Year's Six Bowl. I wanted to ask you about that too. If they win out, are they going to get an invitation to one of those?
They're a national draw, right? I mean, they bring a lot of fans. They travel well. That always makes a difference. I think they're going to get consideration. I guess some of it also depends on what everybody else does along the way too. So
yeah, that's a great point. And that's
but to me, to me, the bowl games, what bowl game you play in almost doesn't matter if you're not playing for a national championship.
That's true.
I mean, you watch these guys; they don't even play games. I mean, if these guys that are high draft picks, potentially, they don't even play in the bowl game, right? I mean, it doesn't even almost matter anymore. And
I don't like that.
I know.
Gosh,
I know.
Man,
but if you're not playing in those final 3 games, man, nobody cares.
I guess I get it, but I just really don't. The competitor in me just.
I know. I like the old days when you got up on January 1st and watched the 4 major bowl games, and some cases national championships were riding on them. Back before they had the playoffs, and those days are gone.
Honestly, with all the NIL and all the money that. Not all of them, not all players are making that, but the individuals that we're talking about who are going to potentially be those high draft picks, they've already got some money in their pocket. I would think they'd want to play that game, but I get the reasons. I just don't like it.
Don't like it either. And a guy even if they get a major bowl bid, which I don't think they will, but a guy like Caleb Williams, he wouldn't play in that game. In fact, he may shut it down. I wouldn't be surprised if all of a sudden he's not playing anymore.
Yeah, that's pathetic.
Because they don't have anything more they're not playing for a national championship. He's probably not going to win the Heisman Trophy, which was in his
Notre Dame shut that
review.
down.
Yeah, and so what does he have to play for? I mean, he is going to be potentially a number 1 overall pick, and that is a big deal. You don't want to get hurt if that's the case. But times have changed, man. It is what it used to be.
Yeah. So Notre Dame again has Pitt tonight. They'll be away at Clemson on November the 4th. They will then get another bye week. Then they'll be home against Wake Forest on November the 18th, and then travel to Stanford that Thanksgiving weekend and take on the Stanford Cardinal on November the 25th. So, Mike, now we head into Ohio State. They are at Wisconsin today. They'll take on Wisconsin, and they're favored by 14.5. Do you sense any letdown after that emotional win
Man,
versus TSU?
maybe the biggest win of the year for anybody, right? Number 3 beating 5 or 6 or whatever it was. And in fact, Ohio State's the only top 10 team that has beaten 2 top 10s this season. So
yeah, Notre Dame was
they were
the
top 10, yeah. So I don't sense any letdown. The good news is they're getting 3 key parts back. They're getting Travion Henderson back, which they've desperately needed his electricity, at running back. They're getting Ibuka back, the wide receiver, and then Denzel Ward is coming back, the DB. All 3 guys that got hurt and didn't play last week. They were able to win without them somehow, and those are 3 big additions. But especially Travion Henderson, I'm sure he'll be on a play count and not carry the ball 40 times. But I don't think so. I do think though that Luke Fickell wants to win that game, and I also think that they'll do anything. I mean, they're going to be a little bit unpredictable, I think, today, and so. But yeah, 14.5 in Camp Randall. That's a lot of points. But I think Ohio State's focused enough, and those coaches and those players, they know what's at stake week in, week out. And I don't know if there's going to be any letdowns rest of the season, but got a couple potential games there where that might happen today and against Minnesota later on. And so just keep winning. Doesn't matter by how much.
That's right. Yeah, I think Ohio State will take care of business today. I don't know that they'll cover that.
Yeah,
I think
I agree. It's a questionable.
I think you're right. I think Fickell will probably have them fired up for many reasons. I think Wisconsin's struggling a little bit this year, so I think Ohio State will definitely.
But they're playing for something. I mean, they could still win the West.
Yeah,
and this win would really give them an edge. And they still have a chance to win it even after a loss. It's highly unlikely given everybody else's record. But I predict or think there'll be a pretty competitive game and probably a single-digit margin, maybe at best, for Ohio State.
And Mike, mid-season grade, I'll go first for Ohio State. I'm gonna give them an A, not an A plus, because I think that their offense. I think they're still searching for some answers there.
Right.
Harrison Jr. is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and
I think once they find a few more answers on offense, that could move up to an A plus. But I'll give them an A right now. Especially the defense is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, same here. I mean, if you didn't watch the games and you knew they were 8-0 and they beat 2 top 10s, you might give them an A plus. But they don't pass the eye test totally in terms of the full complement of what they have: offense, defense, special teams. So, yeah, I think A is a fair grade. All you got to do is win. It doesn't really matter how or by how many, and that's what they've been doing. And they still have some tough games left. Obviously, that showdown in Michigan is looming, and that just seems like that's going to be maybe the spectacle of the season of the year.
Boy, with everything going on, that's going to be a circus.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute circus, and Michigan's going to be ready for that one. And we'll cover that bridge or cross that bridge when we get there. But A is a fair grade, I think, for Ohio State, and I love it. They're undefeated and number 3 in the country, and I don't know what else anybody could ask for.
Yeah, their remaining schedule, they're going to be away versus Rutgers on November the 4th. Home versus Michigan State on November the 11th. Home versus Minnesota on the 18th. And then the game that you just mentioned, away at Michigan. And, of course, we went over that ad nauseum at the start of the broadcast. But, if there is no verdict at that point and things are just going on as usual, I agree. That is just going to be a monster game, and you got to believe that at that point, Michigan's going to be playing the "we're against the world" angle for that one. So they're going to be fired up and ready.
Absolutely, 100%, and they're it's going to be maybe if things keep proceeding the way they are right now, the most watched football game ever, or in a long time anyways, right? Just because of the Michigan scandal, that's going to add a whole lot of spice to it and bring people to that game that may not otherwise be watching it.
And Mike, do we have Jeff on yet, or are we still waiting for Jeff?
We're going to call him right now.
All right. While we wait for Jeff, we will, when we get finished speaking with Jeff, we'll move on to pro football. But we're hoping Jeff can give us maybe a little bit additional background on that Michigan scandal going on, and he, of course, is in Wisconsin, and we'll cover that Ohio State game versus the Badgers. And Mike, what time is that game?
Hey, Jeff, are you there? Jeff?
Oh,
there he is.
Hey, Jeff.
We got Jeff.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Jeff.
Yeah, I'm up. Man.
Hey, man.
Good morning to you.
Wow.
Jeff, I
So
forgot that you were an hour behind us, correct?
No, but I had woke up. I woke up a few minutes before.
Your body clock is not an hour behind, though, right? It's on the same clock.
Yeah.
Did you go up? Did you go up last night, or when did you get there?
Yeah, we drove. I drove up yesterday.
Okay, so you did not have a high school game last night, obviously.
No, I did not do a game.
Okay.
I've been looking at the scores though.
Yeah, not a whole lot of surprises. I looked at all the Region 4 games and then the D4s, our league and SWBL. I don't remember seeing too many real big surprises. Have you stumbled across something that made you think?
No. I mean, what'd you got? What'd they do?
We beat Roger Bacon 42-0. Bacon was without their starting quarterback, who was supposed to be pretty good, had good stats on the season, but it was a complete domination. They weren't very good at all.
Yeah, pretty easy victory there.
Massey won, CJ won. CJ beat Mount Healthy, which I think surprised me a little bit. And but I think in our region, in our division, all the top, higher seeds prevailed. And I think Springfield beat Wayne pretty handily, if I remember correctly.
They did.
Yeah,
they did.
Centerville won, Fairmont lost.
Yeah, Miamisburg won.
Yes.
In that region, I was just looking at that. There's 4 of the lower seeds won. There's like three double-digit seeds won in that region, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like there was a lot of parity in that region, though. I mean, unlike
there was, and
I think St. Ignatius went 1-9 and they won last night. They beat Menor,
right?
Which is it the first 1-9 team to win a playoff game?
Who was it?
Ignatius.
Ignatius, yeah. They beat Mentor, I think.
Yes, which is crazy. But I guess anything can happen this time of year, right?
It can. And I think if you're a person who thinks, there's a lot of people that argue, why do we have 16 teams in the playoffs? It should be 8.
Yeah.
And I could live with that. But if there's a division where you might say, you know what, there's a lot of good teams. Somehow it feels that way, or there's more parity. Let's put it that way. And that would be Division 1. Yes. Division 1 has more parity than all the other divisions.
Yeah, I agree.
But virtually every team in those regions get in anyway. So
right, like Beaver Creek's the only team in Region 2 that didn't make it.
That can't make you feel very good, can it?
No,
or Marcus Colvin.
Yeah, they're like 17, 18, or 19 teams basically in those regions.
Right.
And so, the parity is real there. I mean,
yes.
A Springfield team is very talented, and they've battled lots of injuries and different things, and they could get themselves right, and they could beat Centerville, and they could keep going.
Right.
I don't know if they'll beat Centerville, but they could for sure. So,
have you decided, Jeff, which game that you're going to cover next Friday?
No, I won't be here. I got to go to Rutgers.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Well, to open up go ahead. I'm sorry.
Got something else. Yeah, and I've got something else the next Friday too, I think. So I don't know if I'm going to see a playoff game until we get down to regional finals or something. So it's just the way I got too many irons in the fire.
Yep, I get it.
To be able to hit all the playoff games. So it's just bad timing on stuff. I hate missing them, but I would have loved to have been at that Wayne Springfield game last night. It's probably where I would have been.
Right.
But anyway, but Mike Cooper was able to cover it, so it got covered, which it was the biggest game. It was the most important game to be at, I think. So.
Yep. Jeff, we opened up the show today. Mike and I did, talking about the scandal going on at Michigan. Just wanted to get your reaction about that and see if you had any additional insight as to what's going on with this situation.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if I have any more insights. Any more news this morning, or is it pretty much what we heard yesterday?
Yeah, pretty much what we heard late last night, yesterday afternoon. I didn't see anything this morning with any updates. The thing about it, and I told Tim that we all have to be careful, is that people are starting to fabricate things and put stuff out on Twitter and social media that make it look real, and it probably isn't. But if you trust if you go to the trusted sources for that kind of information, which I try to do, I didn't see anything this morning on it. So, I guess the latest is, I don't know. I mean, you've probably heard the latest. It seems like though during the week and the last several days, something new did come up every single day.
Yeah. Well, the Washington Post story seems to be the biggest thing.
Yeah. I got to check that out.
From what I hear from that, that it sounded like, well, there was this outside investigative firm, right?
Yes.
So somebody from Michigan let them walk through the doors and look at their computers.
Correct. Right.
So why is somebody in Michigan doing that?
That's a big question.
That's an interesting thing. Is that you can conjecture a lot of different things out of that, which I won't, but. That's an interesting thing. So that lends a lot of credence to what's going on. If they did that and said, here's what's going on, if, and I say if Jim Harbaugh knew about this and he told the NCAA he didn't.
Yeah. He told all of us he didn't, right?
Yeah. Exactly. We know what the NCAA thinks about not telling them the truth.
Yep.
The old cover up is worse than the crime.
Yep.
So that heads will roll if that's true.
Yeah, I told Tim I think that if he's lying that outwardly to everybody, I kind of feel like it's like him saying, I'm leaving after the year, it doesn't matter. I can say whatever I want or do whatever I want. I'm not going to be here, kind of thing. I mean, I don't know why else you would lie like that. There's no way that dude didn't know anything about what was going on, unless they were honest with him in terms of how they got the information. That's the only thing I can think of. But still behind closed doors, man. There's just no way he didn't know what was going on. Impossible. And if it's true he didn't know, that's even probably just as bad, right? I mean, how can you have something that significant going on in your program and not knowing about it?
Well, and saying you didn't know didn't work for Fitzgerald at Northwestern, so I don't.
Never works.
It's not going to work for Harbaugh.
It never works, especially for him now. He's on thin ice.
Didn't work for Rick Pitino either.
Tressel. I mean, you can go on and on and on with all that. And it's like you said, you'd think people sooner or later would learn that the cover-up is worse than the original violation, and you should just come out with everything immediately and be honest. And it just keeps happening over and over.
Take your punishment.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, it's obviously, and I hate the defense of, well, everybody does this kind of stuff. I mean, that's how do you know that? That's not necessarily true.
Well, let's see the proof. Let's see the evidence of it. I mean,
show me proof. Other people are doing this.
Yeah.
Oh, is somebody at a game and knows somebody and says, "Hey, I think they're doing this," and passes it on? I don't know. Maybe they do. I think people are there going to watch the game. So that doesn't work for me. I have a buddy who's a Michigan fan, and I talked to him yesterday, and I said, "What do you think, man?" Because we were talking about something else. We had reason to talk about something else, and he goes, "Man, I don't know. I mean, my son was telling me about it. I've been so busy." I said, "I finally pay attention to it a little bit." He says, is what I told him. I said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
that's
and
not a
he
good
was just
answer.
kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was joking with me, but it was funny. We had a good laugh about it. But
Jeff, I was surprised to hear originally that you can't scout in person. I mean, we scout in person all over the place in high school, right? I mean, that's what we do.
Right? Yeah,
and,
I didn't know that was a rule.
Yeah, and if that's all they were doing, if they were at games taking notes, right, and filing a written report of what happened at the game and what whoever it was you were watching. I've scouted a million basketball games. I file my report, all the details around what you saw.
Yeah.
If that's all they were doing, I don't think much is going to happen. But it certainly sounds like it's more than that, right? Guys sitting in the stands with phones and recording devices
involved,
and stuff like that.
Well, even in your situation, Mike, when you go scout a basketball game, you can't film it.
We cannot film it. No, we do get video through Huddle, and
right.
But we can't. No, you are absolutely not allowed to sit in there with a camera. In fact, I heard a story about a coach who did that once, and somebody came up to him almost like immediately and said, "What are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
You can't do that."
Right.
So, having that video is really helpful because you can sit there and break it down. You can watch it over and over and over again. You can match it up with the signals that are coming in from the sidelines and calls and things like that. And it is a decided competitive advantage to have information like that ahead of time before you play somebody. But again, this could all be solved by putting speakers in the quarterback's helmets like they do in the NFL.
Yeah.
Problem solved. Right?
They asked Ryan Day. Somebody asked Ryan Day about that on Tuesday. I mean, the first question to Ryan Day at the Tuesday press conference was about the thing at Michigan, and he says, "I'm not going to talk about it." And then somebody said, "What if?" This came back to it a little bit about the helmet thing, and he said, "It's been talked about. That's all I know. It's been talked about."
I don't know what their hesitancy is. I mean, you've seen college games on. I can't remember who it was, one of the Pac or Big 12 games. Dudes are holding up like gigantic pieces of poster board behind the guys who are signing the play in.
Yeah.
And then what's wrong with using the wristband thing? Why not just go to wristbands and sign a number in there and have them open the wristband, look at a number, and call the play? I mean, it's
crazy.
It's amazing that things are that old fashioned that it's that easy to be able to steal signals, right?
Right. I mean, you can certainly do it at the D1 level. It's whether you can do it down below. And I don't know how much they care about being uniform. And until we can do it all the way to Division III, we're not doing it. I don't know how they think, but I would say, they're doing replay at D1. They're not doing it at D3. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's crazy. A whole lot to be decided to come, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is, and this is akin to what the Astros did.
Right.
Yeah.
And we know how upset everybody thought that was the most horrible thing. You can be just as up in arms about this if you want to be.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. Go play the game and do what everybody else does within the rules.
One last thing on it though, and that is, if we get to the point at the end of the season where Michigan is as a likely Final Four prospect or candidate, and these guys are sitting around the room in there and they're going, "Hey, they say they have some inside information, and they sit there and go, "Hey, if we let Michigan in on this, number one, did they cheat to help them get here? And number two, are they going to be asked to forfeit this when it's all said and done? And the NCAA is going to tell us to act like it didn't happen."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was my point.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of confusion that's going to come out of this sooner or later, and the NCAA ain't going to have anything to say about it for 3 months. They don't move that fast.
Right. We've got 6 weeks. Yeah, we need when the Supreme Court decides they're going to hear something right away. Because it's of utmost importance to just go ahead and do it.
Right.
The NCAA needs to do that.
Yeah.
Or they need to at least let the committee know this is probably what's coming, just to give you a heads up. And if that keeps Michigan, and if they say, Michigan's going to get a lot of trouble over this, and they've had some unfair advantages, and we're not going to take them. I mean, everybody that's a Michigan fan will just lose their mind.
They will.
Well, at least most of them will.
Absolutely.
There might be a few. There might be some that are, for straight thinking people.
Right.
But I think a lot of people, and you know how that is when it's your team. You think about it differently.
Absolutely.
The way sports goes.
Well, Jeff, we know that you were certainly at the Penn State game last weekend. Ohio State looked very good. I mean, their defense was really impressive. As hard as it is for me, who is not a fan, to admit that, I thought Ohio State looked really, really good in that ball game. And boy, they made Penn State's offense look foolish, I thought.
They did. I mean, I wrote that they made them look like a MAC team, and they did. I mean, they look like on that side of the ball. Now, not on the other side of the ball, because Penn State's defense was pretty good too, and held up as much as they could. But Penn State, if you didn't know who they were, and you just watched them try to move the ball in that game, you'd have thought they were somebody out of the MAC or something.
That's a great point.
That's just what it looked like.
Yeah.
I mean, when the Akron or somebody or Toledo comes in there, and they all they can muster is, a late touchdown and a couple field goals. I mean, that's just kind of what they look like. So, and you're right. I just wrote a story that published yesterday on Press Pros about the defense and the safeties, the way they're playing. And, Knowles came in saying this is going to be a safety-driven defense. And so I asked him about that Tuesday. I said, is this what you envision?
Yeah.
What is happening with this group? Why is this happening? What is it about this that you feel like this is happening the way you want it? And he said, yeah, because the safeties are making plays. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact quote, but he says the safeties are making plays all over the field. Proctor, Ransom, Styles. Those guys are making plays everywhere. And so that's what he wants. And when his safeties are playing at a high level, and when they're able to get in there and make plays, that means that everybody else is doing their job too.
Yeah.
They asked Josh Proctor. Somebody asked Josh Proctor, I think it was on Wednesday night when I went over there, about the pass rush. Does it feel like those guys are from game one to now, is there increased pressure up front? And he's like, yeah, we can see it. We can feel it. We know from what's happening on our end, basically, that it's happening up front even better now.
Yeah, and they're doing it with four guys almost every down, right?
Almost every down. They don't have as many sacks as other people, but so what?
Right.
Did you see how many times did Drew Aller step into a throw last week?
Not very many. He was out of wit. He was out of wits, man. The combination of the pressure that they were putting on him and whatever they were doing, for lack of a better way to describe it, to disguise their coverage and how they were defending him. He looked completely out of sync and out of wits the whole time. And I thought at halftime when they came back out for the second half, they might be able to make some adjustments and he would look better, but not really. Not till the end.
No, they gained 6 yards in the second half until that last drive.
Right. Crazy.
And folks, we are talking to Jeff Gilbert. He writes for PressPros.com regarding Ohio State football and the Dayton Daily News. Jeff, we know you got a lot to do today, so give us.
Oh, I'm not doing anything right now.
You're not doing anything.
Coffee. We're in an Airbnb apartment and just sitting here drinking coffee this morning, and
nice.
It's cold.
So let me ask.
Is it cold up there?
Yeah, it was cold when we got in last night. I think it's going to be in the 40s today. Somebody told us about a place where you can get a good pastry or a donut shop or something. So we're going to find that.
That's what I was going to ask.
That sounds fantastic.
Got to find those local places, right, for breakfast and lunch.
Right. Well, my wife came with me. We just drove up yesterday, and we're going to.
Fantastic.
Then I go to the game tonight, and then we'll drive home tomorrow. So we're just having a nice time away. And
that's fun.
So
I expect it to be pretty rowdy there tonight. A lot of pregame preparations going on up in the parking lot and stuff.
I'm sure there will be. I'm looking forward to it. I can get in the stadium 2 hours ahead of time. At Ohio State, you can get in 3 hours.
Okay.
So I'll go get parked, and they tell me the email I got says I got an 18-minute walk from my parking lot to the stadium.
That's not bad.
That's not terrible. And then the press box closes at 1 a.m. the local time, but they run shuttles. They run you to they'll probably have some golf carts and shuttle us back to our parking after.
So you've never been there.
So
This is your first time.
nice.
This is your first time?
First time. Yeah, Ohio State hadn't been here in 8 years.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That really is.
I mean, it's I remember years ago, when Alvarez got here and started winning, then they started beating Ohio State some, and
Right.
it was like, it got to where as a fan of Ohio State, it's like, I got to where I'm like, man, I despise these guys as much as I do Michigan. I felt that way for a while.
They were cocky. They had a chip on their shoulder. They were very. Alvarez was cocky, and they like to talk trash. But that is a top 10 or 15 game day kind of environment or atmosphere, isn't it? I mean, I've
that's
heard
what people tell me.
Yeah,
that's what people tell me. I was talking to. I was at that UD Ohio State basketball game on Sunday.
Yeah.
And one of the other guys who covers Ohio State for years, he was asking me if I was coming up to the game. And I said, yeah. He says, and he's been here a number of times, and he says it's one of his favorite places to go.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
Well, that's awesome, Jeff.
We'll see if it's better than we'll see if it's a better atmosphere than.
We'll have you tell.
Bend.
Yeah, we'll get a full report on that next week.
Well, Jeff, we always appreciate you hopping on.
Who do you think's going to win tonight?
I think Ohio State's going to win. I was just going to mention that to you. When I was putting the prep together for the show today, I saw that Ohio State was favored by 14.5. I'm not sure if it's still at that number. I don't know that they'll cover that, but I definitely think Ohio State will take care of business.
No, I think they might cover it and then some.
Yeah, hey Jeff, I think it's a big deal.
Henderson and Ibuka are playing tonight.
Yes,
and I think that might.
That certainly helps.
Offense needs that.
Yes,
this offense desperately needs Henderson because those other guys, as hard as they work, as hard as they run, they just don't. He's if he's healthy and they block it a little better than they have been, I think he'll make some big runs.
Yeah, he's a home run hitter. Those other dudes hit it in the gaps and hit doubles. You know what I mean?
Or a lot of ground outs too.
Well, that's true. But I don't know how much of that is them and the offensive line, but I don't feel like at any one given point any of those guys are really going to break a long run. Whereas every time Henderson touches it, he's got a chance. Yeah. And I don't know did you hear this week at all? Will he be limited as far as his play?
I don't know. He doesn't say. He Wednesday night they had 2 practices, and Dave said of those 2 guys, Henderson, Ibuka, and Burke, that they've been practicing and they're good to go and they're going to play. Yeah. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Now, he said Henderson was available 3 weeks ago and didn't play,
right? And
then he couldn't play the next 2 weeks. So I don't know.
I still think there's something shadowy about that whole situation. I don't think they're being honest with us in terms of what's really wrong there.
I don't know. It's possible. Anything's possible, and if we find that out at some point, I wouldn't be surprised. At some point, Trevion will speak.
Right.
Will be in front of a microphone, and
maybe
he will be asked what was wrong.
Right.
Maybe maybe if he has a big game.
Well, that game's on NBC at 7:30, Jeff. We'd love to have you back next week. Maybe give us an update on that one.
I'll be getting up in I'll be in a hotel room somewhere in New Jersey, so I'll be happy to get up and talk to you because I'm flying there. I'm flying in there like a late morning, getting into New Jersey around 1:30 on Friday. And I got time. I got nothing but time.
Well, if nothing else, Mike and Tim are your alarm clock, Jeff.
Well,
yes, and I'll be on Eastern. And I'll be on Eastern time.
Right.
Okay,
that's
and
another
probably
night.
Probably a
And
little
that's
less.
another night game.
Right, that's right. It is.
Yeah.
And probably fewer interesting places to visit there than maybe Camp Randall.
Probably.
I've been in New Jersey more than a few times. It's not a destination point.
Most likely. And I'm just gonna probably Uber to the stadium and back. Is what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
So
all right,
I'm not
Jeff.
even gonna get a car. So.
Well, enjoy the game, and
I will.
we will talk to you next week. And yeah, just enjoy the game. For you, I hope Ohio State performs well, but I don't think they're going to have any problem tonight.
No, I really don't either. I mean, unless it's just one of those let down, goofy things that happens. But if they're ready to play, and I think they are, I think the taste of what happened at the end of last year is driving this team, and I think they weren't ready offensively to be great to start the season, but come week 12 and possibly Big Ten title game, this team can be maybe not quite as efficient as the last couple of years on offense, but a lot more efficient than what we've seen. And if this team grows like that on offense with what we're seeing out of this defense, then they're gonna, I don't know, they're gonna have a shot.
It'll be hard to stop. Yep.
They'll be hard to stop, and you'll think they can win whoever they play, no matter who it is. So.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, go Bucks.
Well, Jeff, have a great day. Have a great time with your wife up there. Enjoy enjoy Wisconsin, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks very much.
All right, man. Yeah, talk to you guys later.
Okay,
See you,
thanks,
Jeff. Be
Jeff.
careful.
All right, see you. Bye.
That was Jeff Gilbert. He writes for PressPros.com. Also, the Dayton Daily News. Always good to talk to Jeff and get his perspective. And Mike, I wanted to do something today that we didn't do last week because of time. But, we started a little segment called Yes, No, Maybe. So I have a couple questions that I want to ask you, and maybe I'll give my reaction as well. Some of them are a little off topic. They don't necessarily relate directly with college football, but some of them do. But first question today, yes, no, maybe, Mike. Pete Rose will be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
No. As much as I hate to say it, I'm going to say no. If he hasn't been now, I doubt they do it posthumously. I can't say that word. After he's not gone,
Yeah.
Right? I just don't see it. I mean, they've been so adamant about it, and until there's a whole new generation of sports writers in there, maybe. But no, I say no.
Yeah, I thought
good question, but I'd say
long and hard about this one. Originally, I thought yes. I thought he would be, but they just don't seem to.
No.
They don't seem to like him for some reason.
Yeah,
and I agree
no.
with you. I think it's the group of writers that are associated with it right now. They just absolutely refuse to put him in.
Yeah,
and,
not going to happen.
Maybe 100 years from now.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
So, yeah, I agree with you on that one. Next question, Mike. The 12-team playoff begins next season. We will have a team with a 5 seed or higher reach the Final Four in that first year.
Yes. In the first year, yes. Yes, I do say that. I think there's a lot more parity now than there has been. And look what happened with TCU last year. They did get in, but were they the top 4 team in the country? Probably not. They did beat Michigan. They couldn't steal the signs in that game, evidently. But I think yes. I mean, I don't think this is going to be much different than what you see happen in the NCAA basketball tournament, where a lower seeded team.
And I love that.
I do too.
I really do.
I think somebody's going to come through next year and get there and point back at the past and say, look, I told you we needed more teams in. So my answer is yes.
Okay, I agree with you there. I'm going to go with a yes on that one as well. Next question. Urban Meyer will be a college head coach again.
Yes. There's persistent rumors that he's been interviewing or has interviewed at Michigan State.
Yeah.
They're not going to announce or do anything until after the season. I just can't. I mean, he seems too young to have put it completely behind him. I do think he's going to coach again, and it'll be his last chance. But I say yes, adamantly.
Next question. A 2-loss team will make it into the 4-team playoff this season?
No, absolutely not. There's a couple really unique situations where that could possibly happen, but there's too many teams either undefeated or with one loss now that have a pretty clean path, and so I'll be surprised, but I'm going to say no, absolutely not.
I'm going to say no as well, and for the same reason that you just mentioned. I think there are too many teams that are undefeated right now and too many one-loss teams that would certainly get in before a two-loss team would. So I would say no as well. Now, I do think two-loss teams are going to get into the 12-team, but we'll see how that shakes out as well. Final one for me, Mike, and this one does kind of relate to what we've been talking about for the entire show, really, and that is Jim Harbaugh will be the head football coach at the University of Michigan in 2024.
No, absolutely not. I think he'll be gone. I think this is the straw that breaks the camel's back. He may already have a plan in place to leave. There's been speculation for forever. I got to believe he's just going to get tired, and he's kind of his own worst enemy. But he's going to get tired of some of this stuff, and he'll head off to the NFL. Everybody's talking about the Bears. I think he would be a great fit in Chicago. So I just don't think that he's going to be with Michigan next year. I really don't.
I don't either. I still wonder what pro team would want that circus, but evidently, it's a different animal, college versus pro,
Totally.
and he's already proven that he can coach, and he's done it in the pros. So you're probably right. He probably will get an NFL job, and I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be back. I think he's going to move on either way. Either he's going to be fired, or he'll resign before that happens, and he'll take the professional job.
I think that's very, very safe bet.
So, Mike, we've kind of reached the show where we do our picks for the weekend. Just to give everyone an update on the college and pro, you are 13-10 in college. I am 12-11, so we're pretty close there. In the professional ranks, you are 11-15, and I'm 16-10.
How about that? You're killing it in the NFL.
Well, I don't know. I guess it's just luck. But I think it's safe to say that if anybody wanted to make any money, they could go the opposite direction from what you and I do.
If you total all our picks up, and you bet the opposite way, you might be winning a little money.
Although we're not doing too bad.
Not bad.
College,
500 is a pretty good average.
Yeah, you're doing very well in college.
Yeah,
and I'm in another group where we just pick games or whatever, but I'm doing terrible in that one. But I'm not doing too bad here in the professional. But notable games this week for college. I got 4 of them picked out. We got, of course, Ohio State versus Wisconsin, OSU 14.5.
Yeah, they're gonna win. I just don't think it's going to be by 14.5. Jeff seemed to disagree with that. He thinks they're going to win easily, but OSU will not squander this opportunity, at least not this week. And I think they're going to win. Can't wait to watch it though.
So you'll go with Wisconsin in the points?
The points. I'll have to go with Wisconsin plus 14.5. Yes.
Okay, I'm going to do that as well. So we're both on Wisconsin with the points. Next game, Oregon versus Utah. Oregon at Utah. That is on Fox at 3:30. Oregon is favored by 7.
Wow, I like Utah. I like betting on them. Oregon's playing really well right now. Bo Nix is the leading. Is he their quarterback at Oregon, right?
Yeah, Bo Nix.
Leading Heisman Trophy candidate, or one of them with J.J. McCarthy. So I'm going to go with Oregon. I talked myself into taking Oregon and giving Utah the 7.
I am going to go with Utah.
Yeah, I like Utah.
I think they're playing very well right now, and I do like their coach as well.
Yeah.
Next game is Notre Dame versus Pitt at Notre Dame. That's a 3:30 game on NBC, and Notre Dame is favored by a whopping 20.5.
Whew. Pittsburgh's not awful, I don't think. I've seen a couple of their scores. Notre Dame's coming off a bye week, which sometimes can make you a little rusty, especially early in the game. So I kind of talked myself into taking Pitt and the points. I think that may be a little bit inflated only because I think the public likes to bet on Notre Dame. They're also thinking back or looking back on that USC game. So I'm going to take Pittsburgh in the points. Yeah.
I think
a lot of points.
I'd like to abstain from this one.
I know. It's
But I think I'm going to go with Notre Dame just does not cover very often. So I'm going to go with Pitt on this one as well. So we're both on Pitt with the points, 20.5. And the final college game is Louisville versus Duke. Louisville is favored by 4.5.
Yeah, I don't know the status of the Duke quarterback. I don't know. So I'm just going to make the assumption he's healthy and back, and he's going to play tonight. And Louisville's been playing well, but I'm going to go with the Fighting Pat Doherty's down there at Duke and take the Blue Devils.
I'm going to go with Louisville on that one. So I think Louisville's pretty tough at home, and even if the Duke quarterback plays in that one, I don't think he's 100%. So I'm going to go with Louisville. So we both went on Ohio State. Or no, did we both? We both picked Wisconsin, excuse me. We both picked Wisconsin with the points. We differed on the Oregon-Utah game. I took Utah, you took Oregon. We both took Pitt with the points against Notre Dame, and I went with Louisville, you went with Duke in that ball game. So interesting to see what happens in those college games, certainly. And pro games this week, Mike, we will just go with picking the games in the professional this week. Bengals at 49ers, Browns at Seahawks, Ravens at Cardinals, Jaguars at Steelers, and the Raiders at the Lions.
Good ones.
So who do you got in the Bengals at 49ers?
Well, Brock Purdy is not starting. Sam Darnold is. I think Deebo Samuels is still out. But I actually think Sam Darnold is pretty good and probably has something to prove. Plus, they talk about it all the time, but that Callahan system is pretty transferable from one quarterback to the next. Darnold's a pro. He's got a lot of talent. It's a long trip to San Francisco for anybody, especially East Coast teams. So I'm going to go with 49ers to win and cover at home.
I'm going to go with the Bengals just because I have to.
Yeah,
I can't bet against them.
They're coming off a bye. They're coming off a bye too, so kind of never know how teams are going to react to that.
I think they're going to they have a chance to get the 49ers while they're down a little bit.
Absolutely. Brock Purdy's not going to play.
Yeah, I think the 49ers, when fully loaded, are the best team in the NFL, but I don't think they are right now. I think they've got too many injuries.
The Browns beat them. That was more than just a game that they lost. They lost 3 guys to injuries in the first half, 2 of them in the first half, I think. And so they did recover enough to win last weekend, but it's going to be, and the Bengals are a different animal, and I think the Bengals have a chance, but I'm not going to let the fact that Brock Purdy's not going to be there stop me from picking him, because I think Darnold's pretty good, and that system's pretty good, and it's hard for teams to go out west and win. So
yeah.
But they can do it. They actually need to, the Bengals.
Yeah, I think it's.
With everybody winning last week.
It's must.
They had a bye, but everybody won.
Yeah.
Browns won.
They
Pittsburgh
need
won. The Ravens won. Bengals need a win.
Yeah, they do. Browns at Seahawks.
Yeah, of course. Massage Watson is out. He's not going to play. P.J. Walker's going to start at quarterback. Browns defense is unbelievable, although they did kind of break down a little bit last weekend at Indianapolis. They might bounce back in Seattle. And again, it's another team going way out to the West Coast. I think it's 3.5, right?
Yeah.
I think Seattle covers that, or Seattle wins and covers at home, and they beat the Browns by more than 3.5. So I'm going to take Seattle.
I'm going to take the Browns. I think they're going to go out there and they're going to defeat the Seahawks. I don't know why, but I just feel like they're going to.
Well, you certainly don't think that their defense is going to have a second bad game. I mean, they were not good last weekend, but you don't think they're going to go out there and have a back-to-back bad performance. So, I mean, wouldn't be surprised, but again, I like those West Coast teams at home when they're playing East Coast teams, and I think Seattle, they're good. So should be an interesting game, but I'll ride with my Seahawks. I hope the Browns win.
Ravens at Cardinals.
Yeah, that's an easy one. Ravens will win by a lot. Cardinals have 0 chance in that game.
Yeah, the Ravens, they've been a little bit on and off, but boy, the last couple of weeks they have
destroyed Detroit last week in a very
surprised me.
Highly anticipated game up there in Detroit, and the Ravens
Lions let me down.
Absolutely destroyed them. So Ravens will destroy the Cardinals again tomorrow, I'm sure.
And here's a battle between two teams where they're just not very good. The Jaguars and Steelers. Who are you picking? Well,
yeah.
Jaguars aren't too bad.
Jaguars aren't bad. Steelers, I mean, they seem like I don't know how they're doing it, honest to God.
Yeah. Finding a way to
mostly
win.
Defense and special teams. But they're in first place in that division. It's just insane how they continue to win with what seems like a less talented group of guys. But Pittsburgh, I think they're going to stay on a roll. What's the line on that one again?
I don't know what the line is.
I'm sure Pittsburgh's favorite. I'll take them in the points.
Yeah,
I'll take them and give the points. Sorry.
I'm going to take the Steelers too. They find a way to win at home, and their defense is always good. And the final one, Raiders at Lions. Lions kind of reeling, Mike, after that drubbing that they took from the Ravens. So Raiders at the Lions.
Lions bounce back. The Raiders not so good. I think Garoppolo is coming back and will start a quarterback for the Raiders tomorrow. I think I heard that the other day. I don't know if that'll be enough or make a difference. The Lions will not be happy, and they're going to come out, I think, a little bit with a chip on their shoulder. Raiders, like I said, they're not lighting the world on fire, obviously, and I don't know what the point spread is, but I think the Lions cover at home.
And Mike, we'll go with our final segment here, and that is the helmet sticker for college football. I am going to go with Jordan Travis, Florida State versus Duke. He was 27 of 36 for 268 yards, a 75% completion percentage. He had 2 TDs. He did have the 1 interception, and he also carried the ball 10 times for 62 yards, and for a total QB rating of 150.3. It wasn't going well for FSU. Duke looked really good until their quarterback got banged up in that one. But I thought Jordan Travis took over, and FSU was able to pull away in the second half. So he gets my helmet sticker.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit of a homer this week, and I think I've only done this once. So I'm going to take Ohio State player Marvin Harrison Jr., with 11 receptions for 162 yards, an average of 14.7 per catch, a touchdown. And it wasn't just the number of catches, but it was how he did several of them. They were spectacular. The Buckeyes threw for 286 yards and rushed for only 79. So they needed everything that Marvin Harrison gave them last week and more, and that was enough to beat Penn State. Marvin Harrison's a freak. I don't think there's any question he's the best wide receiver in the country, a top probably 5 pick in the NFL draft next year. And the Knights, I keep saying the Knights, I'm hung up on the Knights. The Buckeyes need to keep using him. He needs 8, 9, 10 targets a game.
Yeah.
And hopefully they take advantage of that tonight and they keep riding him a little bit. But he is something else.
He is. Well, Mike, enjoyed the conversation. Great show
Absolutely.
Today. Thank you again to Jeff Gilbert, our guest.
Yep.
But great day of football again. No real intriguing matches, if you will, tonight as far as record-wise, but certainly the Ohio State-Wisconsin, and for me, of course, Notre Dame-Pitt. But a lot of great sports this weekend.
We'll find something to watch, and football's definitely at the top of the list all day today, and again all day tomorrow. And if it's bad weather out, I don't feel so bad sitting inside watching it.
Absolutely. Folks, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Gamecast Radio Sports Talk. Thanks for joining us today. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the sports, and we'll see you next weekend on Gamecast Radio Sports Talk.
So long, everybody.